or as they used to say in a certain other place. Yes, well, thank you, everybody, and welcome to this week's edition of the Metaworld News. The date is the 27th of June of the year 2021. Yes, it does exist. Not sure about last year, but this
It's
one,
real.
yeah, it's real, I think. So, naturally, we're bringing you the news headlines for the week ending 27th of June. Get it right there. Why do I bother? Why do I bother?
Oh,
It's better those weeks when I just forget, isn't it?
mm.
Anyway, yes, my name is Mal Burns. Mal, one word. Burns, the other word. But if you want to find me on Twitter, you have to understand that wherever I go on the web, somebody is busy there squashing me. So, twitter.com/MALBURNS, all one word. And there's another feed for this show, which is not very populated, but sometimes has interesting stuff, and that is twitter.com/Metaworld News. Again, two words which have had the misfortune to be squashed together. So you really have to blink a few times to be able to read them properly. Such is the world of the web.
Such is the web.
Now, you hear a voice next to me. You probably see an avatar next to me. In fact, you do. If my monitor is anything to go by, he's just looking behind his head. The poor guy's on fire. But, in fact, I think I better let him introduce himself this week, because there's a real danger that he'll have burnt to cinders by the time I've finished.
Oh, that would be terrible.
Welcome to James Out Loud, who's fiddling with knobs, i.e. videos, feeds and stuff, and the audio feed and everything else. And he's trying to do it while he's burning up, Joan of Arc.
Burning up. Oh my goodness. Well, yeah, I found a great. I like to find fun free clothing, and let me put up the creator's name here. This is a hoodie by AC Pixel. I've had AC Pixel items before, and it's a fun hoodie. It's got, as you say, it's very bright. You can see that a little bit here on stage, but let me pan over and look at the person in the audience. And oh yeah, that is nice and bright. So very nice hoodie. So thank you to AC Pixel for another fine free item for avatars. Very, very fun.
Very good, very good.
But I feel comfortable, Mal. I'm not too hot. I feel just fine.
You needed a texture on that hat, which was ash.
Right. Carbon.
Never mind. Anyway, yes, as I say, it does look suitably out loud.
Thank you.
You tend to be.
I do my best.
I was going to say whether by accident or design, but I'll leave that out since you appear to be trying. Right, okay. Let's get to the news, except I'm going to actually do a rabbit hole before we jump into the main news, because I have got nearly 20 terabytes of offline storage on my local network, and the earliest of my efforts was a thing called My Book by Western Digital, 2 terabytes basically. And I used to have a Samsung one, and that actually overheated and caught fire. I had a Toshiba one that never performed badly, though I have recycled it somewhere. But so impressed I was with My Book that I've now got 1, 2, 3, 4, a combination of 5 external drives on my home network, all by Western Digital. I've become a very loyal Western Digital customer. But on Friday, something happened, and I've got a little quote up on the screen. It's a screenshot at the moment from 2 days ago, basically. And it appears that most of the planets who have Western Digital drives of the one called My Book suddenly went offline. The drive has a firewall, so there was no way a virus could have got into it, according to Western Digital. Well, according to Western Digital, there's no way this could have happened, but then they were assured it had happened, and they still seem to be puzzling as to why it happened. The basic story seems to be some kind of script was executed, probably originating at Western Digital servers, telling all the external drives all around the world that were connected to everybody's network to reset to factory defaults. And there seems to have been a mixed reaction all over the place. Some people have just found their drive wiped. Others have actually found their drives looking intact, but all the folders are empty. Other people just can't mount the drive, which was the case with me. And if you tried to get into the into software on screen to actually configure it, you were supposed to enter your Western Digital password for the device, and that nobody could get that to work either. It didn't recognise anybody's passwords. So something has seriously gone wrong. Now this is a device that firstly you have to pay a lot of money for. It's not like a Facebook where you can just moan and they can say, well, we didn't buy anything off us, you know. Secondly, there's a warranty on them. I'm not sure what it is, but they're actively advertising it as the purpose being backup. So naturally, people have backed up their music collections, their video collections, and everything else onto these drives to free up their hard disk space. If you're lucky, you kept them on your hard disk because the backup's now gone. So the original is safer than the backup, it seems. But anyway, there's a lot of furor about this, and if you're reading that thing I got on screen, they finally owned up by saying they've determined that some of the MyBook Live devices are being compromised. Well, apparently it's every single device in the world, so it's not some, it's all. It does only seem to be the ones branded MyBook Live, and they're compromised by malicious software. In some cases, they say some, this compromise has led to a factory reset that appears to erase all data on the device, blah, blah, blah. And they're saying, oh, they stopped supporting it in 2015, so it's your own fault now. Like how it is. And we understand our customers' data is very important. Well, I'm glad they understand. Can we have it back? 2 terabytes per person who owns these things, by the sound of it. At this time, we recommend you disconnect MyBook Live from the internet to protect your data on the device. But that's no good if it's already happened. And they're actively investigating and will provide updates to this thread when they're available. That is 3 days ago. You'd think there'd have been a bit more there when I checked. There's screenshots from this morning. So, 3 days ago. Anyway, that is my rant of the week, and it's so important that I couldn't wait to do it.
Oh, just miserable. Just miserable. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I am pizzled off, as they say. Anyway, now I've got the pictures open. We'll just start with a few others that I've clicked during the week. Don't know whether we ever showed this one. This is just a picture on the web somewhere. This is actually the memorial to Ebbe Linden, Ebbe Oldberg, I should say, who suddenly passed away. What was it, about 2 weeks ago already, I think.
Yeah.
And this memorial is, I believe, the one in Sansar, as opposed to in Second Life. Can't swear to that. I'd actually have to check, but anyway, I'll put it out there. There's no tag on it for me to tell you, unfortunately, which isn't very helpful, is it? Oh, here we are. Ebbe Memorial JPEG. Doesn't say where. Okay, I think it's the one in Sansar here. It looks like the Sansar one, but I can't be sure. I can't say much about this, but I did clip the advert. It sounds like there is some kind of platform called Humankind, launching in August the 17th, and there is a beta available now. I've yet to find it. And it describes itself as letting you create your own avatar. Now, whether this means it's something like Ready Player 3 or Ready Player Me, or one of these places that allows you to make an avatar and then import it wherever you want it, I don't know. But from the nature of that picture, it makes me think that it's probably a whole virtual world that's being launched of some sort. It looks a bit historical, and that avatar and its costume looks like Helena Troy or something, actually.
Yeah.
Don't know about the picture, but interesting enough that I thought I'd put it up, and interesting that somebody's coming up with a platform called Humankind. Quite close to home now, so to speak.
Yeah.
Oh, you don't need a second life anymore. Just become Humankind.
I feel like I'm already a member.
Yeah, it's like, people say, I don't need a second life, I've got a first life. So,
Right.
You don't need a second life because you need to be humankind. Yeah, something. Uh, I'll get in a twist there. Right. Um, now, exciting was Thursday in a number of different ways, but one of which, the video for this hasn't actually come up yet, but this was it was recorded, and it was a Zoom call basically, and Hulda Al Kazami, she's based in the Middle East. Um, Emirates, I think. I'm not sure, though she speaks perfect English. Very charming lady, actually. Um, it was talking about representing humanity in virtuality from the perspective of artists. And the main subject, although she was working through a translator, is the lady on the left, who's her name is Cao Fei. And if people who may remember her from the days when she was in Second Life with RMB City, she had an avatar called China Tracy. And although she hasn't had China Tracy active for probably near a decade now, what was interesting was that in the course of this conversation, she suddenly thought of the China Tracy avatar and how it embodied her sort of persona. And so she actually was including a lot of reflections on China Tracy in her part of the talk. So it was all very interesting. I did meet her briefly again a decade or so again. She was exhibiting RMB City in the Serpentine Gallery in Hyde Park here in London. Or was it Kensington? No, Kensington Gardens. Sorry, I keep forgetting my geography. They're both joined together. Um, and I actually reminded her, although, well, she didn't respond to the chat there, but there's quite a lot of active chat going on. But one of the things she had when she brought it over to London was she had a three-dimensional construct of RMB City, which of course was an original Second Life creation. She built the city as an artistic endeavor in Second Life, but it's like she'd made a giant-sized plaster cast of it. The real life sculpture or whatever you want to call it was just like plaster cast type thing. It wasn't. It had all the ins and outs of the contours and the shapes and the workings of the city, but it didn't have the color, that the virtual world did. So that was all very interesting. So since I don't have a clip anywhere elsewhere, I thought I'd clip. Oops, that's naughty. Clip this one. There's Calfe there, and there's Holder there. So just a nice see their pictures there. But you don't want to see that. It's art, by the way. It's not naughty, but it's. Oh God, it is naughty. Anyway, sorry. Let's get back.
We're all adults here. We're all adults.
Yeah, almost equally naughty is what
Yeah.
on earth is what is all that sparkling going on in Philip's crotch? This is Philip Rosedale's, as he is known now. His avatar was remade for him in Second Life and looks pretty much like this, but I'm glad to say that in Science Space he's staying in form. He's managed to get his avatar from Second Life over into Science Space. Except
Wow.
the science-based version has additional movement between his legs, which doesn't stop, I add. So, what do they call it? Bling.
Bling. That sounds good.
Bling in the balls. Sorry, I better stop being rude. Anyway, what's made him bling that particular part of his anatomy? I don't know. You should have blinged the Rolling Stones icon further up. Except that's been modified too. It's got teeth now instead of a tongue. But never mind, never mind. I mentioned this because this meeting actually took place on Thursday. We had Adam Frisby and Philip, and also compared by, as it were, by Hamlet Orr. Talk about the metaverse, all things metaversal. They described it. I went on for about 3 times as long as it was meant to before they had to get the region offline. First thing I noticed when I said, I just shouted out, I said, this is like a reunion because there were all sorts of people there that I haven't seen or heard from since the earlier years of Second Life. So despite that it was, in fact, it was in a science-based variant and a bit off the thing. I mean, I did tweet it in advance, but surprisingly good turnout. But the other thing, if you look at that picture now, you might think, oh, well, we're taking a little animated GIF from In World. It looks a bit like Second Life, except that it's not. It's Science Base. But actually, it's a branded version of Science Base. It's basically Science Base with a skin on it, and the skin is called Break Room. And it's been pitched as ready-made places for the enterprise rather than the sort of user-created type artistic stuff of Science Base proper. But basically, when you log in, even if you're in Break Room, you've got your same avatar name, your same avatar costume, etc., etc. So as you can see, Phillips looks almost identical to the one in Second Life. But the thing that actually makes this more remarkable is the break dance. What am I talking about? Break room for this particular event launched in their web version. So basically, when you followed the link to get there, it loaded a tab into Chrome and then loaded the world. And not only were massive people there, as I say, it was like a reunion. But all the avatars are fully fleshed out, like this one here, and you wouldn't have known you weren't in Second Life or Science Base's standalone program. Even with all those people, there was no lag. They were also using Philips audio software, which is far more economical than the Vivox one they were using before. Um, and that seems to be a partnership set to go places by the look of it. Um, yeah, so the fact that you could just follow a link and be there on the web in a matter of moments without actually going and downloading a science-based client or such, I think was possibly one of the most remarkable parts of the whole thing.
Mm.
On top of all the other deliriously wonderful stuff. So scrolling away here, and oh no, that's it for the picture post. I haven't done picture posts for a few weeks, so I only do it if I've got a couple of pictures worth showing.
Oh, that was worth showing.
I think I hear.
Oh, a siren? That's on my
Yeah,
mic. Sorry.
it's not. It's your end. Okay, no
Yep.
problem. It's safe page. It's not worth bothering with. I was just worried it might be my end, and it might have been getting closer. No, shame, shame. Okay, so I'm going to put the picture post away, so to speak, and move to our regular uh, news feeds. And we're going to start off where we always start off. It's at skarredghost.com, SKARREDGHOST.com, and cue the sound effect. Yes, I've got the old wolf I can add to that actually if we need to. Do we need a wolf added to that? I can't find it
Sure.
this time. Oh,
Oh,
yes.
yeah, yeah.
Okay, Tony Antillo, whatever your full name is. We've learned how to announce your blogs in a big way here. Yes. Rocking and rolling, and what's the point? We're howling every time we visit you. Right. The XR Week P. This is his weekly Monday post. Same title every week, different date, obviously. It's a roundup of the week before. So this was published on June 21st, beginning of this week. But it's a roundup of the week before that. So it's about as far back as we can go. Probably very little here that we didn't cover on last week's show or wasn't in my Twitter feeds already. But, there is some stuff that gets through here that I don't normally, it's out of my sphere to cover. I'm especially allergic to covering that bloke, actually. But that's me and the rest of the world, of course. I wonder how, of the people pissed off with Western Digital, I wonder how many of them share my loathing for the fake book. Not even relevant, is it? Never mind. Carry on. PS VR2 may release during the holidays 2022. I never know what they mean by holidays 2022. Does that mean the seasonal Yuletide holidays, and does it mean the one coming up into 2022, or the one over 18 months away? Who knows what they're talking about?
Right.
Bloomberg reports more about Oculus Quest, which is the Facebook guy again. Where are we? Newsworthy mention. Real Max launching new glasses. whatever. I'll leave it to you whether you're going to go there and check out. It's old news, but it's only a week old, and it's news you may have missed, which is why it's sort of important. Scarred, go to store1word.com for that one, and we'll have another post from him in a minute or two anyway. Then, of course, our first major post from Forbes this week, which is in it's every Monday basically, as opposed to Charlie Fink on Friday. This is Kathy Hackey's weekly roundup. Her focus is slightly different from Scarred Ghost, but again, between these two, you can get a pretty good idea of what's been happening. Not so much this week. Well, you will tomorrow, but you get the idea. But in the week before June the 20th, basically. And LinkedIn, right, the professional network, have stepped into the metaverse, apparently, whatever the metaverse may be defined as on this occasion. Kathy is not very good at this, defining it. They want to host a future work event in Alt Space. So I'm not sure. The event actually happened on June the 8th, so this is just a sort of report from it. Alt Space is one of those virtual worlds that has been fairly successful in the sort of COVID years, so to speak. COVID months. I don't know.
It has a good funder.
It's 2 years. However, I did. There was a post. I don't know whether I've got it up for this week, but there's a post of somebody launching a new virtual world or something. I probably called it a metaverse, like most of them do these days. Who I think they've described it as the LinkedIn of the metaverse. In other words, they're building a world that will be like a LinkedIn in 3D or something. Who knows? They're all at it. A lot of them are at it in ways that aren't really of great interest these days. But who knows where it will all go. Anyway, another roundup from the previous week from Kathy Hackey. Oh, this I thought was funny. So Tim Berners-Lee, maybe this is his way of raising enough money to build a new web. Has auctioned the source code of the original web browser as an NFT, a non-fungible trinket. And the auction took place at Sotheby's, and bids start at 1,000, but I think it will go for a lot more than that. He'd need a lot more than that to rebuild the Web3 or whatever he wants to build. And non-fungible trinkets. Philip put it very concisely at this talk on Thursday. Philip Rosedale, that is. We're talking about NFTs, and Philip said, well, sort of, do you want to spend £3 million on a fancy artwork and find that when your friend comes round, you can't even show it off? Which that sort of explains NFTs rather succinctly, I thought. I mean, if I buy a painting, I want to hang it on the wall and have people come and look at it, don't I? Don't want it to be in an electronic limbo where I'm not sure whether it even exists. All I know is it's confirmed to exist by the blockchain, but I don't know. I haven't got a clue where it is or how I can show it off. Anyway, maybe I got that wrong, but his take on it I found was very funny there. Right, it was delivered in conversation, I should say. So I had a context, I forget. Okay, so you find this roundup at Forbes.com, Forbes.com. And we will now move on down the list, so to speak. Hopefully not the rabbit hole, just the list. And this is a site called secondsightingwordpress.com. Now, a bit of coverage of Second Life this week. I have a separate feed at Twitter. Oops, belch. Hiccup. Oh dear, this is bad. Right, I have a separate feed at Twitter, which is twitter.com/Malburns_writer, which is my full avatar name in the oldie Second Life. They're celebrating their 18th birthday this week. So there have been a few rather topical things that are, sort of going on that are really a bit, more special and in a greater reach than just Second Life. First of which is the fact that they're having their 18th birthday, 18th anniversary, and of course, it depends where you are in the world, but at one point the age of majority was 21, other times it was 16, but generally it's accepted to be the 18th. It is in Britain these days. And so this is neatly called Second Life at the Age of Majority, or Second Life Comes of Age, you know,
Hmm.
however you put it. If you put comes of age, it might sound they've suddenly done something new. You get the wrong impression. But anyway, they're talking about there have been various events taking place, meeting the key Lindens, that's Linden Lab staffers, and a fascinating session with Safia, which I didn't see, but I read bits of it. It's got Meet the Moles, and there were a whole load of these avatars that work for Linden Labs turned up. You know, about 20 of them all crowded there, called moles. And they're people who are employed to actually dig the tunnels and do the roads and all the public area parts of Second Life that are run by Linden Lab itself as opposed to the users. So, in order pay has prepared a detailed guide and all the rest of it. And yeah, this is just a little summary and shows the welcome area. A bit cluttered, but pretty, I suppose. And yeah, just to round up some pictures there. That is the main stage, which is very Second Lifey kind of stage, isn't it? You can't quite imagine that even at Glastonbury. And yeah, some nice pictures of various bits and pieces. Um, quite a long blog anyway. There's quite a lot of reading here, but as you can see, it's a profusely illustrated blog,
Hmm.
as they say, and a whole lot to look at there. So you'll find that, and this is a double barrel thing. It's second sighting, so that's second. Hang on, let me read it. SECONDSIGHTING. All right, so that's two words together, second sight. Then dotting, so second sighting dot wordpress.com. So second sighting wordpress.com is the full address you want for that one. And that post was early in the week, as most of these are at this stage, is what I'm reading out. So moving on from that one, um, we'll get to a bit more of that as we go. I'm just going to go down in order at the moment. This is a post of, well, the post is at the site called raindance.org. Now, whether this is actually, I forget, I don't know that this is actually part of the Rain Dance Festival. I think it might just be a site called Rain Dance. But anyway, the article is raindance.org. And this is smart ways that companies are using VR for their success. It's basically about hosting business type things in the magical land of virtual reality. Um, and yeah, summarize it up basically, changing how sponsors, companies, organizers, etc., interact with attendees and stuff, and examples of companies actually doing it. I think from as you read this, I think their focus is on the VR, the headset variant, as many things are now. But it's still, you know, it's still virtual platform anyway. So you'll find that at raindance.org, that little post. And moving down, this is digitaltrends.com. Um, I quite like including links in my feeds for things that aren't actually VR or stuff, but are sort of interesting exercises in immersion and convergence and things. And this is something called the Illuminarium, and it's described here in the headline as a multi-sensory theatre that makes IMAX look prehistoric. I think that might be a slight exaggeration, but basically it's more than a big screen. Put it that way. You walk in, you feel like you're there. You see it with the best projection systems in the world. You hear it with what we think is the most technologically advanced sound system, and you feel it through the low frequency haptic systems in the floor. You can even smell it through our sense systems, and you
Oh,
can actually affect it if you're part of the narrative using a LiDAR-based interactive technology. Presumably that's AR with your phone. Put all that together, and we really capture your entire visual central framework in a way that no place I know of has done before. That is a quote from somebody called Alan Greenberg, and I suspect Alan Greenberg is Greenberg the author or the CEO. I don't know. It could be either from that, couldn't it? He's describing the Illuminarium, a forthcoming breakthrough multimedia venue that promises to transport users into immersive virtual environments, from the plains of Africa to deep underwater environments to trips to other planets, all without the requirement that visitors don VR glasses to enjoy them. Instead, guests will walk into a cavernous space in which high-definition video is projected onto walls 20 feet tall and 350 feet wide, augmented with a plethora of high-end special effects such as inflow vibration and scent release. Picture something between a next-generation IMAX and a cutting-edge theme park. And you won't be far off. So anyway, it tells you a little bit more about it there, and I must admit that kind of sounds interesting. I have no idea where this is. If you misread the early bit, it sounds like it's in Africa, but that's actually just an example of one of the places you can go to in it, so to speak. Presumably, this is going to be like an IMAX sort of thing, where you know, there will be one. And then, here we are. Right, the first one will open in Atlanta, which I presume is Atlanta, Georgia, in the States, and the second one in Las Vegas. Well, that's appropriate, isn't it?
Yeah, that would work.
Which is also, of course, in the States. Couldn't be anywhere else. Vegas. Then 6 months later, Miami joins the party. So yeah, and they think they've got a letter of intent for a really cool location in Chicago. So you get the idea. It's going to be a franchise kind of thing, I suspect. Plans are afoot for Mexico, Spain, New Zealand, Australia, and China, which are in the works, and the rest of the world feels it's missing out. They want to be in London, Paris, Moscow, etc. He noted. I suppose he covered all the main ones there. Sort of, I don't know. Sort of. What about Puddleford on the Marsh? I think they should have one.
Sure.
Yeah. A tourist attraction is Puddleford on the Marsh.
Okay.
It's not very big. It's probably smaller than this exhibit will be, but never mind. Like me, Puddles and on the March, I do. Right, so that's called the Illuminarium, and you can find out all about that at digitaltrends.com. Very good site for figuring out all sorts of things going on that aren't necessarily VR, etc. Digital Trends is all one word, digitaltrends.com. And so, yes, put that one away and move down to marketingweek.com. marketingweek.com. And as you know, a site like Marketing Week obviously has only one thing on its mind as a rule: marketing. So they ask, can the rise of virtual worlds spell the end of the corporate brand? It's not so much how can the corporate brand use virtual worlds, it's will the rise of virtual worlds spell the end of the corporate brand? Is this Marketing Week foreseeing a future where they're no longer relevant?
Perhaps.
Yeah, it's finding their own death warrant Marketing Week, are they? I don't know. It's about the other fascinating subjects that was talked about in the week. As we move increasingly into virtual worlds and the very notion of self changes, brands must prepare for a time when personal brands usurp corporate brands, predicts futurist Tracy Follows. And her text follows. Ha ha. Wasn't that clever?
Mm-hmm.
Never mind. That's fine, he says.
It didn't hurt. It didn't hurt terribly.
I thought it was absolutely hilarious in a corny sort of way. Right. Anyway, as I say, find us at marketingweek.com. All you need to read on that subject, basically, marketingweek.com. And yeah, personal brands are on the up, and corporate brands are hey, see you later, down the rabbit hole you go. Yes, indeed. Right, okay, that's enough exaggeration. Okay, now I mentioned this at the top of the show when I was showing you an actual little picture. Oh, no, I didn't. No, sorry, I saw it at the beginning of the week. This has been an interesting week for encounters with Philip Rosedale. Come on, Dratster, Philip's got one L in it. Surely. Where is it? I'm not sure about that. I'll have to check. It doesn't look right anyway, but never mind. I thought it was one L. I managed to. I don't know. I'm probably talking nonsense. Idle head today. Anyway, as part of the Second Life celebrations, Draxter Dupre is kind of famous for his book club and documentary films he's done based in Second Life. Got together with an old subject of his, in fact, Tom Barstolf, anthropologist, and interviewed him as part of the birthday celebrations. And it was very interesting because Draxter was sort of coming up with the questions and prompting them, but the main idea here was that Philip Rosedale and Tom Bowerstaff were, sort of elaborating on their thoughts. Um, Tribes and communities and stuff was sort of Tom's thing, being an anthropologist, and it was a side of the Second Life that Philip's always pointed out, as important. So it just ended up being a very good discussion. It was time limited. I think they were on air for about 50 minutes, and everybody vanished within 5 minutes of it opening, so there's no real after talk, but it's very good. And I have got it here live for you. Now, I'm not going to play all of it, but I'm going to click through to YouTube just so we can double check the exact location for you to go to. Right. Oh, yes, and actually this is very interesting. The person you want, there are actually 3 different versions, would you believe, of this posted. One was filmed by Linden Labs and is a complete mess. It's a face showing and everything. There was another one filmed by somebody whose name is familiar, but not greatly, and that was posted too. And that was another one with the camera just hardly ever moving and bits of the interface showing, so that didn't look good. And then thank God for Isabel Sharan, who's filming I Love. She obviously just turned up and decided to film it and did the proper thing, killed the interface and optimized the audio and everything else. And it's her version is 100 times better than either the official version or the other one that's up there. And maybe Draster did his own version, but he's bad at hiding interfaces and things, so who knows. So if you go to YouTube, you want to look up Isabelle, Isabelle space Cheren, Cheren, and sort of read that. Technically, it was described as, although it was put on by Lindens, who hired Draster to do it, it's described as a special from the book club, which is Draxter's book club. And I guess they were sort of talking about Tom's book, but they were talking about, much more than just the book, the whole theme of it. Anyway, so, so Isabel Sharan there. If you follow my Twitter feed, you will actually get a link to that article, film, Meeting with Philip Rosedale. And that's it takes you to Metaworld's site at Mastodon, which is the tooting site. And then you click through the link, or you can actually play it from there as well, so it doesn't really matter. Right, moving on. Back on Second Life yet again. Estelle 18B, The Artist and the Art. Well, the absolute best blogger, she does things other than Second Life, but certainly in Second Life, is Inara Pay. And as you might expect, every Tom, Dick and Harry blogger around has been doing something on the birthday celebrations in Second Life. Well, Second Life bloggers, that is. But Inara is pretty much guaranteed the best. And also, like me, her focus is on artists and art and destinations. So her little review is actually a good way of looking about what's there. These titles like Amaze and the next one Astonished, these are actually regions, the birthday regions, of which there's about 16. And in each of them there are a whole load of different art galleries and places you can go to. So as you can see, she's going through the regions in alphabetical order and then the parts of the regions in alphabetical order. So it's quite a long list, as you can see. She doesn't actually go too heavily into reviewing them because she's obviously just got so many to list. But she does do, 1 or 2 sentence reviews there. And you can still see all these now. I forget how long the birthday week per se is now over, but I'm certain that the regions are up there for at least another week, probably longer. And it tends to be, if you want to just look around and enjoy the builds, that tends to be the best time to go, because the crowds that cause a lot of lag, which means you can hardly move, tend to have eased a bit in the second week, so you can focus on looking at the places rather than walking at other people who are only half raised. That was one of the problems, but that's the other good thing about Isabel's previous video, by the way. That Philip Rosedale Dragster session was laggy to hell. You know, you could barely move or do anything.
Okay.
But she managed to capture the audio very well, and do good camera work. So congrats to her on that. She probably, I got there early and it wasn't too bad then, but then I crashed when all the people poured in, and by the time I came back in, I couldn't move. It amazes me that, you know, all these other virtual worlds around these days, and Second Life still can't get rid of its lag.
No, no.
Nobody else has that problem these days. Anyway, I'm not going to knock them. I'm just going to say happy birthday along with everybody else. So that in our page site, by the way, is Modem World ME, which is MODEMWORLD.ME. And another blog that's mostly concerned with Second Life is Hamlet Orr's blog, New World Notes. The address is simply nwn.blogs.com. It's actually a blogger site, if I remember, but that's obviously a quick way of getting to it. This one's a slightly more serious question. Why understanding virtual world economies is important for crafting real-world policies today. And basically, he's giving a little snapshot review of Gene Loon, who's a former Linden Lab veteran, shall we say, this book here that he's reviewing too on State of Play. One reader starkly suggested that Gene Loon, this is, imagined saying, I was responsible for managing the currency used as commodity for pixel furries to use at strip clubs on a platform called Second Life. And then Campbell says, while amusing, this misses some of the important history of Second Life and virtual worlds in general, especially now. And then he quotes Gene, and yeah, they're looking at this. Let me see. Okay, I don't think the State of Play is a current. No, actually, maybe that's not a book. Maybe it's just a conference. It's not actually current, but it's a focal point for what he's writing here anyway. And he's then got a link to Beth Novak's anthology with more or less the same title. So that's NWN, Nedvanelli, W Nedvanelli again, if you see what I mean, .blogs.com. And yeah, there we go. So moving back to a couple of my video posts at Mastodon. Sorry, I had a dry throat and I decided to take a gulp on my coffee.
You've got to stay hydrated.
Yeah, well, it's coffee, which isn't the most things. But the thing is, it's since I put it there, it's now become lukewarm. It's not all cold. It's sort of unpleasant.
and you can't convince yourself it's like iced coffee?
No, well, that's when it gets cold.
Right.
We're at the halfway point at the moment. Anyway. Right, this is no, it's not VR download. Oh no, this is clever. It keeps posting you to the next one. Right, this is just a rather nice thing. I mean, I've never been much of a game player. The first real game I played, I suppose, was Myst, and we'll have more on that in a minute. Actually, it wasn't even on a computer. I had a version of Myst that ran on Philips' CDI machines, if you remember those. They plugged into your television and gave you art galleries, encyclopedias and stuff. Plus, the first virtual world I ever used was on CDI. It wasn't inhabited. Didn't have elaborate builds, but the technology they were using to bring the web into your home. This is before we had proper web browsers. They suddenly realised they could bring a sort of wireframey sort of thing coloured up, and you could run around in it, but you couldn't do it. It's a novelty. But it was the first, shall I say, virtual space I navigated with what was an air mouse at the time. Right. But so of course, predating that, I always liked a good game of Monopoly, and particularly chess. I'm no good at it. I'm not really a chess player, but it's a game I've played with various people on and off my whole life since I was a kid. I'm no good at it, but I can always remember the rules and try and lose in a dignified manner. Um, so fascinating, but and this has been reposted in the week a few times. This is a YouTube showing a chess club that's been made for Oculus Quest, and come on, move it. It's only 42 seconds. Hang on, what's going on here? Oh. Now it's funny, everybody thinks of chess as a lot of uppity civilized game or whatever. You got to remember, it's actually all about having a war. That's what it's
True.
based on. And obviously, in the virtual version, there you can actually use the regular chessboard, or you can tight it up to be a warlike battleground. So great fun. I've got to admit, I mean, I have a phobia against these headset things, and I don't really like the idea of wearing them for more than 20 minutes, which puts paid to a 20-hour chess marathon, and chess can go on, believe me. But I suppose of all things, that's something I might be tempted more with. You only connect with one other person, I guess, and it's the game itself might go stressful, but there's no sort of standing up and bumping into walls or anything else involved. So who knows? But anyway, I thought it was an interesting little video to point out, and I suppose I better click through the YouTube. One thing I keep forgetting is that when I post these things, you get the posted version, right? Now, the account you need is Chess Club VR. So Chess Space Club Space VR. So they've got their own YouTube account by the look of it. Chess Club VR. Right, let's remove that one. And move to another video here. Oh yes, this is well I say our, but definitely James here. It's his favourite show of the week, I think. Traitor, aren't I the favourite show?
Well, I don't think I've said it was my favorite.
No, it's not
I,
online
I
first of all,
yeah.
but this is the Monday edition or the early week edition of VR download.
Yeah, I
Uh,
like the fact that their engineer, their studio technician, is actually on the program as well. So I guess
yeah,
it's kind of a kindred spirit.
yeah, and I like them because, well, I mean, technically somebody from Ireland is not British, but I mean, close to
Right,
home,
right.
but they're a nice international sort of flavour to the show as well.
See now the game version on Thursdays, Jamie and oh I forget the woman's name. They're in London.
Ah,
Yep.
all right.
Jamie and
Probably come.
Xena.
Oh,
She's
Xena.
yep.
Xena's very familiar.
Yeah,
Yes, just get back.
it looks like they live together because they're often gaming in the same space.
And I think Xena is somebody I may have on Twitter or something,
Oh, okay.
or in Discord somewhere. Her name is the name is very familiar from somewhere.
Hmm.
And yeah, and of course at one point they weren't separate, so I would have been subjected to the whole crowd in some of the earlier episodes.
Right, right.
Anyway, yeah, this is very good. I'm trying to remember everything that was on it this week. I don't think I had time to listen to the whole thing with everything else going on Monday and earlier in the week. Um,
There's a lot of talk of resolution and the field of vision of
right.
upcoming headsets and saying which one is gonna be best, and just a lot of talk about how much the markets are still emerging on these
Yeah.
headsets.
And presumably Oculus is going nowhere because of the Facebook ads.
Well,
No, I'm joking, but they have not gone
right,
down
right.
at all. Basically, I've got I forgot where it's.
As Kyle
Uh,
said, ads make the world go round. So uh,
yeah.
it's not
Um,
whether there be ads in VR. It's when there be ads in VR.
oh yeah, and obviously Facebook is leader, but to be to put adverts in something that is not yet refined enough to be attractive to go into, you can understand how advertisers put up billboards in popular places.
Hmm.
It's the nature of advertising, but you don't put up a sort of a 60-foot high billboard, advertising Evian in the middle of the Sahara Desert, do you?
Because
Well, you
you
might. I
you
mean, it
couldn't.
might it might be a good pitch, but there'd be nowhere to buy the Evian, and it would probably make a lot of very thirsty people pissed
Right,
off.
right.
It'd be even worse if it was a moving billboard like TV, where you could hear the water falling. And you can
Mm,
imagine the 2 days without water, crawling along in the desert, and then you come across this giant television billboard with advertising water and the sound of splashing water being poured into a glass, and
water
that
that
if
you can't
anything is
have.
that
Yep.
would be torture. I mean, that's the sort of thing they would devise as a method of torture to
Hmm.
have their mind to, I'm sure. Anyway, moving on. So yeah, good post there. Anyway, the show's called the VR Download, but the site at YouTube you want is Upload VR. So it's Upload Space VR is the name of their account. Obviously, if you're fine from my Twitter feed, you can just play it from here, like so. See, even they keep
Yeah, and
themselves
Heaney
in.
says, "Okay, you're live. Okay,
You
you're
know,
live."
yeah, I've heard that quite
I've
often
heard
myself.
that. I've heard that myself.
I can't think where from. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
somebody keeps saying that to me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Who says that?
yeah. Wonder who that can be. Anyway, I said this was coming up too. Mist was being remade. I think it's been available in a VR version late last year. That was it in Oculus Quest.
Hmm.
As I said, it's the first game I ever played, or if you don't include chess, but online, should I say? Or actually, of course, it wasn't online. It was on a CD in those days. Um, but anyway, they've had a VR version on a remake on Oculus Quest, and they thought it would come to PC since they've got a store page of Steam for it, but they didn't know when. But apparently that's now happening. It began the late quarter, that's the autumn, and end of September at the latest. Right? There'll be a PC version, and it will include. I like the sound of this. Both VR and non-VR modes. Although the non-VR mode isn't simply the old Mist, it is simply a non-VR mode of the new Mist. Um, so if you're still eyeing VR from the sidelines with your Mac, the game will support the Mac OS 2, though only in non-VR mode. And some screenshots there. Um, they look really exotic, but then again, Mist always did. And the reworking is basically it's the same island, the same geography, many of the same quests and stuff like that, but kind of all updated. Some of the puzzles are different. There's some extra ones, and the graphical quality is much better. But at the time, I remember when this first came out on the Mac, it originated on the Mac. I remember thinking, there's nothing like this. It's just so beautiful. Now obviously there are 1,000 other things that are more beautiful now. In fact, there's user-created bits of Second Life or OpenSim and just as evocative as Mist was back in the day, visually speaking. That is. Okay, so they expect it to be around the $30 price point, which was the price they were charging on Quest. The original was paid as point and click, but the VR remake reimagines the world as an interactive form complete with books to pick up, levers to pull, doors to slide open, which you actually did with point and click in the original. I hasten to add, I think that's one of the nice things about it. You clicked on something and then you pulled it across to like move the lever. And because it was 2D, it wasn't so obvious that there was something to do. Maybe in 3D it would be a bit more obvious. Maybe things would be actually easier because you'd be able to tell what to do easier. Who knows? But I'd like to get the new version of that for the man. Right. A new Apple patents cover. Oh, this is just something else there too. XR input. Yeah, more about the game on. But so Ben Lang wrote this. Typically, he's the main writer at the site roadtovr.com, which is where we are. roadtovr.com. So yeah, looking forward to that. Always like my list I do. Moving on, this is another site we pop into now and again. This is AR Post. I guess the AR is meant to be for augmented reality, but ARPOST.co, not com, just co, CO. Highlights, trends, and announcements from ILRN 2021. Now, um, this time a month ago, we had an educational conference just finishing, and that had been preceded by another conference. There's a whole load of stuff going on. And last of the list, because it started at the beginning of June and happened for a few weeks, was the Immersive Learning Research Network thing. And that's typical education stuff and more geared to researchers rather than general educators. But anyway, they held their seventh annual conference, and it took place in their virtual campus on a program called Vibella, which I'm rather fond of, Vibella. In fact, at this time last month, I'd actually been to a couple of sessions in Vibella, you know, sort of round table. Anyway, this year's conference was a month-long festival held from May 17th to June the 10th. And they basically this article rounds it all up, all the stuff that what they're covering obviously included COVID as the new normal and convergence of emerging technologies, which are new to this conference. Um, I sorted pictures there. That looks yeah, that must be with Vibella. It's quite a colourful shot for Vibella actually. Yeah, mostly taste. Yeah, Vibella again. I should say that it wasn't all in Vibella. They've obviously focused on, the main conference in Vibella. But I know as part of the conference, some events actually took place on other platforms. As you might expect, I mean, even Virtual World's Best Practices in Education, which is basically a sort of Second Life conference every year, until recently, at least one day of the conference was on not in Second Life. It will be on a different platform. Just a conference on, virtual worlds, immersive spaces is covering the spectrum of those immersive spaces. To have it in just one, the conference in one place is really, well, you want a variety, don't you? So you'll find that arpost.co. And let's dispose of that and go on to NVIDIA. NVIDIA are these people that probably make those wonderful graphics cards. If you're buying a new computer and you see, even off the shelf, you see a sticker saying Intel inside, it's got an Intel in it, but also NVIDIA graphics is a little sticker you will often see, meaning they've got this sort of high class graphics too. Um, and NVIDIA recently released with their new graphics card, and it only works with the new graphics card. They've been introducing some creative tools as well, but you do need the new cards to engage with them. And the thing I thought was actually interesting is their kind of anti-mining strategy. I mean, the last version of the NVIDIA graphics cards, state-of-the-art graphics cards that came out, got bought up before anybody could blink. But the people that were buying them didn't want them for the graphics; they wanted them for mining cryptocurrencies. And That meant NVIDIA's regular customers couldn't get hold of the damn things for their graphic requirements. So apparently, the interesting thing is the new range of NVIDIA cards have anti-mining capability or something that stops them being used for. Basically, it brings them back into use for graphics rather than mining bitcoins and things. So they've taken that on board. I thought that was rather nice, actually. About time somebody, restrained some of these people from,
I believe
you
they're
know.
also making cards specifically for mining, which was, I thought, an
Ah,
interesting part of the story.
right. Okay, I missed that side of it. I mean, that
Yeah,
does make sense. If they've got a new market and it's affecting the old one, then it makes sense to have products for each.
right.
That you don't piss off or go have shortages with one of them. Yeah, that actually certainly would make sense. I mean, Nvidia tend to be known for GPUs and GPUs graphic, right?
Yep.
Processor unit. And the main processor in your computer that normally does the number crunching and stuff like that is a GPU. Sorry, a CPU, computer processing unit. And for a long time, anything like crunching the numbers or spreadsheets or doing this mining stuff, you'd think it would be the job of the CPU. But nowadays people can actually shift the whole load of doing these things on simply onto a graphics card that's not being used to optimize graphics. And some of them perform better than the actual GPU, sorry, CPU
Mm-hmm.
in your computer, especially if you've got a bog standard Windows thing, your NVIDIA graphics are probably more powerful than the whole Windows machine. So go figure. Right. Okay. So anyway, yes. This was a talk with NVIDIA's Dave Weinstein, and it is by none other than the Scarred Ghost. So
Ah.
we forgot about our howl, didn't we? I suppose we better catch up. Yeah, there we go. There you go, Anthony, just for
Hmm.
you. Right. So anyway, Anthony pops out there and he interviews NVIDIA's Dave Weinstein, and he talks about integration and all the fundamentals, fundamental for the future of XR. XR being the sort of technical word people use now for extended reality, augmented reality, virtual reality, mixed reality, and anything but real reality. Maybe that too. Who knows?
Yeah.
Um, so, and it's a commitment to XR is visible with new products like Omniverse and Cloud XR SDK. Omniverse is there. I don't want to use the word metaverse, and I don't think I think sensibly Nvidia have stopped using it too. But Omniverse was like their platform rather than a hardware product or drivers or stuff. Um, but this interview covers what they're working on in the present and future perspectives. And he found it incredibly interesting, especially the focus on the convergence of XR and AI. So, as you can see, anything to do with Scar Ghost is a bit of a handful. It's a long interview. That's not the same guy, but there is a video of Greg Jones talking about cloud streaming. Um, this is where they start covering Omniverse, which is the closest thing we're talking about to virtual space, I suppose. And well, yes, I can't read all that out for you, can I? And why would I want to? You've got to go and read the Scar Ghost for this. So SKARREDGHOST.com. And that was June 22nd, so it's a midweek. And yeah, good little interview there. Pertinent timing too. Right, moving on again. How will technology shape the future of collaboration? Right, this is a post at highfidelity.com, highfidelity.com. If that sounds familiar, it was originally the site of Lyndon's virtual 3D world a few years ago. And it still remains his site for the high fidelity audio product. But they're actually publishing two or three blog posts here a week, which aren't directly promoting their own products. They're kind of like mini reviews and things. And this is just commentary on well, technology has shaped the future of collaboration. Obviously, the theme is in their domain, so to speak. As you know, voice communication and everything else is part of collaboration, communication. And as I mentioned, we'll get to it later, but an event at ScienceSpace on Thursday, right? Actually did merge High Fidelity's new voice platform with ScienceSpace's existing sort of mesh-based, Unity-based virtual world to absolutely great effect. You know, I think there's a partnership made in heaven there, really. So the question might go. Okay, so yeah, it's looking at a whole other thing. Likewise, they bring you videos. Skittish was a 2D kind of thing on the web, which also uses high fidelity's audio. I know that. So they're obviously promoting that. But yeah, they're looking into sort of more general stuff here. And quite a long blog this one, also with all those videos in it. The videos aren't actually new, but they're in one place, if you see what I mean. So good little blog to be reading. So to read that, go to highfidelity.com, highfidelity.com. And talking of which, or rather not, but related, we come to Break Room. This was a post, I think this was Venture, yeah, this was at venturebeat.com, VENTUREBEAT. This was earlier in the week. It was before the thing on Thursday I mentioned happened. Announcing Break Room has integrated High Fidelity's 3D audio into its 3D virtual world for social and business events. The deal is a convergence of pioneers who have made their mark on the development of virtual life. Philip Rosedale, CEO of High Fidelity, launched Second Life, etc., and Sinewave Entertainment, the creators of Break Room, got its start as a content brand in Second Life before it spun out to create its own virtual meeting spaces. One of the fascinating things, which I guess I just never had known, Adam Fisby of ScienceSpace, of course, is one of the founders of OpenSim too. I certainly knew that, and he's been on a lot of panels with me in that role. But apparently, Philip and Adam, before Second Life, they were in something Worlds. I've forgotten the name of it now. God, it was on tip of my tongue a second ago. There was a platform that was a bit cruder but predated Second Life, and they both at the start of their conversation they were both talking about that Active Worlds.
Oh, it's an Active Worlds. Okay. Wow.
Yeah. So both Philip and Adam, aside from their own products at the moment, are familiar with each other with Active Worlds and each other in Active Worlds about this. So
wow, yeah.
Interesting little nugget there.
Yeah, I tried Active Worlds before I went to Second Life myself, so interesting.
Yeah, it's often forgotten. I mean, it predates. They'd never really compared. I mean, certainly I don't think Second Life was inspired by Active Worlds, but being as they were interested in that kind of thing, it's no surprise that they're both, checking out Active Worlds too.
Right.
So yes, that a fascinating nugget from the conversation. Now, this fireside talk basically took place between Philip and Adam on Thursday evening, evening my time, daytime US, I think, and it was hosted also by Hamlet Orr. We were all talking, including me a bit at the beginning, but then it was muted to be a session with just Philip and Adam. And Hamlet forwarding questions from the audience. But it was a whole mixture. It covered a large amount of material, went on rather longer than it was meant to. Also, a lot of revealing stuff in the general talk at the very beginning, so much so there wasn't time for general talk at the end, So, but it just came away sort of elated and exhausted, I think is the expression. Well, I did anyway. I know at least two people were filming it. I know ScienceSpace themselves were filming it, and somebody else said, when asked, said he was filming it, But now, and they said they were coming up very shortly, but here we are on Sunday, and no video of the event has actually come up yet, but I'm sure it will. I did read somewhere that somebody was editing one of the copies, but I got the impression the original was up and the edited version was on its way. But I haven't seen any of it, so I want the original anyway. I don't want to hear an edited version. It doesn't seem fair when you get an interesting panel to actually edit it. Anyway, well, the benefit of having 3D audio in the virtual world is that you can have lots of conversations going on simultaneously, which basically Philip's thing does very well. I gather it's a sort of this. Whereas when you, the way Adam explained it to me is that with VVolts, which they use in the main platform still before this merger, um, every voice that's talking, although you do get the spatial audio effect in VVolts based on distance, each voice that's talking is coming through a separate pipe. So it's like, say you're in a room with 6 people in Science Space, or even Second Life, which is a VVolts platform too. Um, what's actually happening is you've got 7 audio pipes open, right? You've got a pipe open, your pipe open, and a pipe for all the other 6 people in the room. Whereas the way high fidelity system not only optimizes that and spatializes that, but it mixes it all before it comes to you, so that it all comes to you as one stream with a ready-made spatial mix has been mixed into the single stream,
Yeah.
if you see what I mean.
Yep.
And you know, that prevents lag and all sorts of things. It's, you know, it's one pipe where there could be 7 or 10 or whatever.
That's the same trick that Zoom uses.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I imagine. Yeah. But the results of this were spectacular. Not only the world and the mixing of the audio, but the fact that the meeting took place. Break room is simply a skin of Science Space, so it's the same avatar, same inventory and stuff like that. If you already have an account, it's just that its focus is more corporate towards putting on events and managing events for clients, whereas Science Space is more a user-based system. Um, but what was actually remarkable is that I remember thinking this about halfway through. I was looking at it on screen and thinking, "Oh, this is lovely." You know, I particularly wasn't that keen on the actual venue. It was a bit strange, otherworldly sort of thing, but it was really well done. And the campfire was like a campfire, but it just looked good. And I suddenly realized, hang on, I'm not even in a client. I'm in a tab in Chrome. And I suddenly realized that I'd forgotten after the initial login, but when you went to the event, you followed a link which took you to a website, which was a tab inside Chrome. You then just clicked a sort of play button, and it loaded the world into Chrome pretty damn fast. And it's it was as good, if not better, than the separate downloaded client. It's the graphics were spectacular. The voice system, as I said, the high fidelities was excellent, and apparently it worked. I think some people were in headsets, but mostly it was designed for seen on screen. And the every time you moved around, the spatial effect of the voices just changed. It wasn't just as you moved to and from an avatar, but as you walked around an avatar, as well as getting nearer to them, and even while they were speaking, um, I think it was Philip made a big play of turning his head while he was speaking, and so long as you didn't move, it appeared that the source of his voice moved slightly because he simply angled his head. So his mouth was facing a bit more to the left, so the voice was projecting a bit more to the left, if you get it. Yeah, intriguing stuff. So it just all worked very nicely, actually. So anyway, this is a plug for the whole thing. Well worth reading here. Lots of quotes from Philip and Adam. I like this one. Here's one for you, James, because I'm always asking James this. I asked Roselle if he could hear me chewing lettuce, which sounded very loud on my headset. He said no, but it definitely helps if you have good headsets with 3D audio.
Chewing lettuce?
Yeah, that's a weird one, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, interesting. All
Yeah,
right.
I just keep asking James if we can hear the music playing in the background, although it's muted. But it's just checking we can't get background
I've
noises
got
on it.
some biscuits here, but I haven't chewed lettuce during the show. Interesting.
No, and I thought, well, you can mute, of course.
Right.
I
Right, right.
don't get a chance to do that much very often. So,
Mm-hmm.
but yes, I've on many shows I will mute myself and nibble on something while I'm muted. It's if you've got a guest who's talking, it's fine.
Right, right.
Uh, but not when you've got to do the whole thing. Oh, I suppose at one point I thought, well, I can play videos to get past it, but there you go. In fact, I'll do that. I'm going to do that in a minute because there is one coming up that
Okay.
I'm going to play. Yeah, anyway, venturebeat.com, venturebeat.com is where you can read that article. And their boss guy, Dean Takahashi, is the one who authored it, of course, prompted by massive press releases from Adam, no doubt. Right, okay, moving on from that one. We're back on one of the Mastodon ones, and let's see if this is the one. This is the one. So I can actually maybe have time to microwave my coffee and nibble something
Hmm.
because I'm going to play this. This is well, I'm just going to find it for you on YouTube first. Just check it is Second Life. No, it's not. Okay. Right. The location of this video is Torric Rhodas Newswire. Yeah.
Hmm.
So TORRIC space RODAS space Newswire. And you will find it, the title of this video is Award-Winning Second Life Commercial 2021, this year. Now, until somebody, I think it was Brett Linden, or one of the Lindens who was being interviewed in the course of the birthday party, mentioned this, and nobody knew about it. Which is rather strange because not only is it a commercial for Second Life that nobody knew about, but apparently it's won awards.
Yeah, it was produced a while ago. It's so funny it was
Yeah,
not known about.
yeah. I mean, I remember I got my hands on a thing that hasn't not come up since, and oh, I must have it downloaded somewhere. Which was that thing that looked like a Second Life movie being made. Anyway,
Mm.
but anyway,
Hmm.
I just going to quickly play this one because it doesn't take too long, and this was completely new on me. And what is interesting is it doesn't do the Second Life thing of as they often used to do, the advertising the dress up or create your avatar thing. It's a bit more. It's just a bit more civilized, really. Is probably the word I'm after.
If you're traveling beyond this life, for the weight of tradition cannot follow. Do not fear reinvention. The design is your liberation. Between the planes where our dreams are built, where the mind reigns and the light bends, and the children of creation dance in time. If you're traveling beyond this life, you are not alone. We are waiting.
That's rather nice. That very short, so 1 minute
Hmm.
5. I had time for a gulp, but not a nibble. Right. There we go. Yeah, very good. I mean, a bit of changing the overdubs and things. That could be an envelope and sim, or well, actually, that's the only other one that's the same platform sort of thing. But yeah. I mean, it's just a good advert for like escaping to um, an exotic place, which in this case just happens to be Second Life. So nice, nifty little film that, I think. Right, let's move on. Okay, hands on. Right, Farjo Reality Cloud is a platform. Right, this is a post at roadtovr.com, ROADTOVR.com. Ben Lang reporting as ever. Something happened in the week. Varjo, a company called Varjo, announced its Varjo Reality Cloud platform. They were incessantly tweeting for about 2 weeks before this announcement, saying, big news is coming, big news is coming, check us on June 24th, etc. And of course, come June the 24th, I was otherwise engaged in some of the things I've already mentioned. But they announced this virtual reality cloud platform, a device agnostic VR meeting platform that can scan and share physical spaces in real time using the depth sensors on its latest XR3 headsets. They don't have an actual specific release date for the tech, they're just busy giving people an early look um, at it. Um, it's a virtual meeting platform not unlike what we've seen before, but one with a key difference. The company plans to leverage the wide field of view depth sensors to allow users to easily capture their surroundings and use it as a basis for virtual meetings. So I suppose the idea here is that remember this is in a headset, um, unfortunately, but it would also have capture facilities in it. Imagine you're able to, um, let's say you've got you're at home and you've got a nice big dining table that will pass as a ballroom, So you could use the sensors and cameras in the headset to scan that in to the system, and you could convert it into a 3D environment. And then people could come in there and meet with you to have a sort of social conference, whatever, social all conference, or and all, and you could really be hosting them around your own dining table, as it were. Even though it would be totally virtual and there wouldn't actually be anybody in your house with you, from the conference, so to speak. Um, it means that if there's something real and relevant in the host's environment, like a bought product or even another person, virtual viewers will be able to see that thing moving and updating in real time, so long as you are also actively looking at it. So if you're at the end of your dining table, being like the chairman of the board, uh, and you're in your headset, you're seeing everybody on the left and right and somebody directly opposite around the table, and anybody um, tuning into the environment will also see the same thing, but so long as you are actively looking at the information that you're uploading, as it were, into the system. Um, I'd have to actually see it to make a judgment on it. And as I say, it's been announced, but it's not actually around yet. Nor much idea of what the price will be. They do actually have a video here, which you can find at Vimeo, which I'm going to play briefly. It's a hands-on with the prototype. Okay. As you can see from the, well, you might not be able to, but the credit at the bottom right of the picture there is captured with XR3, which means the actual film, the capturing process for making that video was actually done with the camera sensors in the XR3 headset, rather than any other kind of camera or whatever. The other thing is, I mean, watching that. I know it's only a prototype, but it reminds me of something I do in Zoom quite a lot, although I've done it in Skype and things for quite a long while, is put a fake background behind me, to hide the one I'm in. Now that's becoming quite commonplace now. To do it properly, you need a green screen behind you. But there are ways of doing it, like in Skype, you can actually artificially blur the background and then replace it with a picture or video background. But one of the faults in a Skype call that is often a giveaway is that there'll be a funny sort of effect around the silhouette of a person taking part. You know, It's not like pixelation used to be in pictures. It's just the fact that as their head moves a bit forward or backward, you get shadows of what they're trying to hide. It never works quite properly, and it gives you a very I often feel quite disturbing. Somebody wriggles a lot while they're on air in a call. It can be quite disturbing because they might as well just not have a fake background at all. It's making so much of a mess around their outline. And you can get away with it at green screen, of course, but the way that character, that person was picked up here, and some of the geometry too. I mean, it had that feeling to me, and I don't think it's a green screen or lack of involved there at all. I think it's simply a case of it's a prototype, and the sensors and the cameras are not quite yet up to it. Or maybe there's an awful lot of processing involved, and the hardware capturing it isn't quite up to it. There are a whole load of reasons there. But anyway, as a prototype, that gave you a fairly good idea of what they're currently getting up to. And they got some other videos and all sorts of other stuff about the platform there on the site. So this is the external site, so it's roadtovr.com, roadtovr.com. And that was pretty late in the week. That one came
So
along.
Mel,
Yeah.
is the LiDAR in the iPhone supposed to be able to do this?
Yeah. Yes and no.
Okay.
The one in the new iPad might be a better
Okay.
one because you're
Okay.
holding a bigger device and a much better equipped camera.
Hmm.
But yeah, I don't think I've got LiDAR in my iPhone. My iPhone is still an
Okay.
earlier one. I should update it, but I keep waiting, thinking there's got a bit new one, a new one. And they have a conference like last week, and there isn't. Same with the Apple Watch.
Yep.
It's. I don't think this is quite the same technology. I think this is Vajra's own sensors. In other words, high quality pass through capabilities in the XR3. It says the idea melds well with that, so maybe as an idea, they would see extending it somewhere else. But Vajra likens its reality cloud platform to teleportation, though the reviewer says he wouldn't say it goes that far yet.
Mm.
Yeah. To be clear, the environment he was seeing wasn't just flat or even 180 footage. It was natural volumetric space. So the person was, so that the person that was standing inside the room. Bad language there. Okay, grammar, I mean. While I could definitely make out a specific reason I was looking at in the room around me, in this prototype, phase of fidelity leaves a lot to be desired. Well, I think it's a different.
Yep.
I think that's what I was saying in a different language, actually.
Right.
The room scan and the person in front of me were assembled from a splotchy point cloud of coloured dots, far from the incredible quality of several of Vajra's photogrammetry demos they've seen in the past.
Yep.
So whether it's photogrammetry...
I think ultimately it has to be photogrammetry.
Yeah. I'm not very up on the distinctions of these things. All I really gather about I ought to play with the LiDAR thing on the new iPad.
Yeah.
I mean, basically, it takes what we think of as a normal camera view, but it also projects outwards, and a bit like radar, it actually gets information coming back that gives it much more information about the depth of what it's seeing, right? And it mixes that with the photographic view.
Mm-hmm.
That is how I vaguely understand it in layman's language. I'm probably completely wrong.
No, it's pretty close. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
LiDAR is like radar, except that it's light. Radar is
Yeah.
radio amplified
Oh, right.
something
So
or
they
the
are
other, and
related.
LiDAR is light amplified
Oh, right. So they are
detection.
related. You
Yep.
know, when I made that, I didn't know that, especially as I
Okay.
just
All right.
and I actually just made the comparison. That's rather funny.
Well,
Okay.
I'm glad to be of service.
I'm on the right track. Good to know that
Yep, yep.
because I keep always saying obviously I do the news and stuff like that. Boy, my technical knowledge, I'm not a technologist as such.
Right.
Futurologist maybe, but not technology king. And I know experts on coding and stuff
Oh
like that.
no, me
So
neither.
I just I pick up the edges of it and I see pathways in front of me as to where
Right,
things
right.
are going or coming or things like that. So
Yep.
yeah. Okay, well, Road to VR and Ben Lang writing there. So roadtovr.com for that piece. And oh, I've already right. Okay, number 997 of the Voices of VR.com, VOICESOFVR.com. Interestingly, it's not here today, but there is a 998 one out too, which isn't really directly involved with anything I'm interested in, but so it's not here. But that means we are now, the next Voices of VR will be the penultimate, and the one after that will be the thousandth
Mm,
program. My God, and
very
all of
good.
them are long, in-depth interviews covering it's everything, anything. So congratulations! I can think by this time next week, I think we'll be able to congratulate them on the 1000th program from Came By, whatever.
Oh, that's great.
This one, VOICESOFVR.com. Debating XR, which of course is VR, AR, etc., privacy tech policy with Elias Dick, of Information Technology and Innovation Foundation. So it's all about security and privacy and law, basically, which is one of the many things one has to be aware of in the modern age, virtuality or not. So voicesofvr.com for that one. Moving on, vrscout.com. That's the first one we've had from them this year. Ooh, got the actual site there for a second. Right, this is an interactive. This is another one which is like what you might call the real world thing, which is just so you know connected to VR and stuff. It's an interactive 360 LED tower which reacts to movement in real time. Um, just well, basically, corporate videos are so 2020. Uh, oh yeah, that was last year, wasn't it? Yeah, but
Yeah, yeah.
Giant Step is looking for brand awareness to take the next level of interactive environments. This is South Korea-based. Um, uh, it's jaw-dropping visual productions. Basically, you can see what's going on here. They've got very exotic virtuality type projections. But the crucial bit is this tower structure, or what in this installation is a tower anyway, um, which actually captures the movement of the people around it, so to speak. This is something the motion capture powered music videos for K-pop group and a high-tech pop-up store. All the stuff they're doing. This is fairly short, if I recall. Now that was something that really would appeal to me because, in particular, with that clip at least, it's all very abstract. I'm one of these people that used to like to play music and put like light show type things on my computer screen that was, sort of particles that responded to the music, and there was some connection with the music or whatever, but otherwise it was all very abstract. I've got two machines with screensavers that are like that still running here. So I really like to look at that. But the idea that I could go to, I don't know, the ICA gallery in London here and just walk into an environment full of projections like that, but where the floor is interactive, and also the tower effect in that video has got sensors in it too, so it can sense the people and moving around and alter the projections according to the proximity of the people and stuff there. And sadly, something in again this busy week I haven't managed to do, and I know it closes today, but I remembered because when Dizzy Banjo turned up at this meeting with Philip and Adam on Thursday, I hadn't seen him for a long while, though I used to see quite a bit of him. He's based in London. He's a musician. He used to play guitar in Second Life, but he also used to be part of music immersion, we called it. And he and I actually came up with a wonderful idea, but we didn't get very far, which was we were actually going to use audio technology to create perfumes in Second Life. We were going to make signals that were sort of beyond direct human hearing, which would actually imply, see what we could do to imply certain scents and things through the use of barely audible audio. There was some potential in it, but it would have meant mixing them, and then the avatar would have to wear an invisible object, which would be like their perfume. And so wherever they went, there'd be this inaudible audio that they carried with them, like they were wearing, like you might be wearing a perfume or a scent. But we didn't get very far with that, and Dizzy actually moved off to make sort of interactive audio applications for the iPad. But for the last couple of weeks, there's been an installation in London here, which is an environmental essay, really. They've made an artificial forest in Somerset House in the outdoor area, and in the middle of that, they've got a sort of pavilion thing with actually rather towers, like the one tower in that video in it, and the forest is full of birdsong. And that part of the installation was programmed by Brian Eno, who many of you will know, a very almost legendary electronic musician really these days, since early days in Roxy music and things. And Dizzy, whose real name is Robert Thomas, did the sound in the pavilion bit in the middle of the forest. Now, I didn't make it, which is a shame. I did watch a video, so Brian Eno's bird noises sound exactly like my bird noises, to be honest. And in my open sim regions, I got birds all over the place that you hear, to greater or lesser effect, depending on how near close you are to them. But Dizzy in Second Life and Open Sim, I think, we used to do these object-based proximity sounds where you would have hidden or maybe visible objects all around a region, and they would exude tones, right? Yeah, audible ones, not like the perfume idea, but sort of harmonies and just sort of tones and things. And they would be designed to work as like notes and chords or whatever work together with the tone coming off the next adjacent object, if you see what I mean. So as you moved around this space, you would hear various sounds coming in and out of focus, but they're all designed musically to blend with each other. So you could walk around the space, around the perimeter, or walk in or out of it, and whilst you were in the confines of the space and within audio hearing distance, it was also like you were composing your own symphony as you moved around. And it was all dictated by what direction you moved in and how fast you moved and that kind of stuff. And when I saw the photo of the pavilion bit of this Somerset House exhibition, I immediately thought, well, Dizzy did it. And I immediately thought of Dizzy. I bet you there's those pillars do the exuding bit, I don't know, without talking to him, and obviously I missed the chance to get there, and until I talk to him, I won't actually know exactly how he did it, but I'm sure I'll get a natter with him to find out.
Yep.
And as I say, it was also nice to see him at the this Thursday thing in Break Room 2. The first time I've seen him in the virtual world for probably a decade or something. Anyway, so rabbit hole again, of course, but this watching the video that goes with this did remind me a bit of that. So Go to vrscout.com. That's VRSCOUT.com. Posted on June the 23rd for that article, and if you want to replay the video, of course. Right. How to work in virtual reality. Now we're getting serious now, aren't we? And why you even want to. That's a weird headline. How to work in virtual reality is like that. Oh, right. Here's an article about, ways of working in virtual reality. And then it says, and why you'd even want to, as if you really want to do this. But if you do, we'll tell you how, So it's not exactly sort of promotional material, is it? Anyway, get a 32-inch monitor set up of your dreams, and your VR desk will always be clean. Blah blah blah. That's the way of describing Oculus Quest. 32-inch monitor and a clean desk. Anyway, adding keyboard and mouse. I think this is focused on headset VR, and being able to work productively in that. And just a really sort of round-up thing there, looking at vSpatial, virtual desktop and stuff. I think, I'm not going to read through the whole thing again while I'm on air here, but I think they also mentioned something really obvious, and that is that the why you'd even want to is quite important, because you strap these things to your face, and to be honest, when you're working, I can say, oh, well, I can handle that for 5 or 10 minutes at home, before it gets too much. But when you're actually at work and you're doing a job where they want you to have these headsets on all the while, that's a different matter. I think there's a health and safety issue there. Now, I know a lot of scientists, people like molecular scientists particularly, work almost exclusively in VR now, because by being in a headset, they can visualize molecules and atomic structures at molecular level, with virtual reality, so to speak. And arguably, it's much easier to do now than in the days of, screen scans and microscopes attached to projectors and stuff like that. So it is obviously a real thing for VR and headsets. But I must say, I wouldn't really want. I quite like to go in a headset and look at molecules, but I really wouldn't want to be one of those scientists, because it sounds like they can't really do their job in any real way when they're not in the headset, when they're studying these things. And to me, using a headset for that function for so many hours at a time would be detrimental to health. But who knows? Maybe one day all the labourers on the local building site will be wearing headsets and somehow see measurement schematics of each brick they pick up and the atomic components of each blob of cement. And rabbit holing again, aren't I? To no avail whatsoever. This post is at gizmodo.com. GIZMODO, and if you're in America, that might be GIZMODO.com.
I don't know about rabbit holing, but being skeptical, perhaps.
Yes.
We need another term for heavy skepticism.
Yeah, I just say rabbit holing because anything that takes me off course is
Right.
it's to my mind. Oops, I did it again.
I wish I could make this clock in front of me on the desk. If I could make that into a timer of some sort.
I just got to. I wish I had a I wish I had a sound effect here for falling into a pool or something.
Oh, right. Well,
a good rabbit hole one.
That should be possible, right?
Yeah, I don't know. It's not really a rabbit hole, is it? I don't know what made me think of that one. Anyway, I will get distracted with sounds in a minute.
Right.
So let's move on. This is gizmodo.com, and it's about to go away as I move down the list to rotovr.com yet again. And what's the betting? It's Ben Lang yet again too. Yes, it is. I think sometimes he's the only writer left there, actually. But never mind. Just an interesting reference article, actually. And actually, this is dated March the 19th, 2020. Oh. So that's actually last year and a couple of months on top of that. So it's not actually new. Why they actually posted again in the new ones, I don't know. Maybe they thought it was worthy of a revisit. I do, actually. 31 for VR apps for remote work, education, training, design, review, and more. It might be a year old, but most of these apps are still around. They're not all around, I hasten to add. But most of these are kind of apps that tend to work on the web or are fairly simple apps to use. Just scanning through it again here. I don't know about Dream, but all the ones before that seem to still be around. Don't actually don't actually know what Dream was. It's probably around. You obviously get links to all these things too. Creativity, you've got Sketchbox, the Wild Soft Space, you name it. There's a load of stuff here. So even though this is published a year ago, they may actually have just updated it for all I know. Reposted it. But you think the data up top would have changed if that was the case. And of course, Mozilla Hub is a very popular one there. So a lot there to refer to. So well worth bookmarking that page. If you follow my link from Twitter, you will just get to the site here, roadtovr.com. Roadtovr.com is where you'll find the article, but it's best you follow it from my Twitter feed because that will actually take you to the exact page. And since the exact page is 14 months ago, it might be useful if you followed a direct link from my feed. Otherwise, you might get lost looking for it. Right. Okay, back to Mastodon and another video. This is called Layers of Place. Bringing communities together by augmenting places with stories, voices, and tech. Now, this isn't technically VR, AR, or anything really. It's just the idea of augmented places. I suppose it's closer to being AR, but of course, when we talk about immersive spaces and stuff, we're talking about immersive places too. It all connects. And whether the virtual place is an augmented reality layer on top of a real life scenario, or whether it's a completely fictitious or simulated thing in fully virtual, they're closely related. So let me find out where you need to go directly for this one.
Professor in digital storytelling, Lafayette Cruz, an urban planner, and
right, they've got quite a few people on this, which is sort of glorifies Zoom conversation again. It's it lasts for an hour and a half, or 1 hour 27, and it's published by the MIT Open Documentary Lab. So MIT in capitals, Massachusetts Institute of Technology. He slurs. Open Space Documentary Space Lab, and that's the account at YouTube you actually want for that one. And yeah. Far too long to play it, and probably nothing I can really extract there. I think there are actually more than I think it's a principal 5 people, and then more people come in later on in the conversation there. So it's yeah, a lot of talk, interesting talk, of course. What else would it be? Right, moving on. Right. New piece of software, basically. This is at virtualrealityreporter.com. So it's a virtualrealityreporter.com. We're glad I don't have to read that one out too often. Virtual Reality Reporter, all 3 words are squashed into one, as is the norm on the web these days. And they're talking about a program called Archeo, piece of software, Archeo. And it's a tool for architects to design, review, and collaborate. I can think of a few architects from Second Life days and beyond that would be Keystone Bashar, for example, interested in this. Although I haven't tried it, I don't know. Looking at the picture, it looks very uncomplicated, which may be to its advantage, or it may mean that it's more like a toy. It's hard to tell. The Archeo, an Iceland startup, fully self-funded company. It's a collaborative tool designed for users to quickly sketch and share architectural ideas for reviewing groups. This is a bit like Wikitecture that Keystone did. The company aims to make this tool available for both VR and non-VR users. The first version is available in Quest, Steam VR, iOS, Android, and Windows. And the tools should be available in various platforms, so people can simply join and collaborate despite which device they use. And the first version, version 1, will be free until September the 1st, so plenty of time for you to try it out. After that, the freemium users will be allowed to use the full modeling tools, though some features will be paid in-app starting at $55 a month. And the focus is on real architecture workflows. Um, Instead of having to create geometry models inside the app, Archeo is designed to pull in existing 3D models from industry standard tools such as SketchUp, etc. So, if you're an architect, could be useful. As often with simple architectural tools, they may also be useful for people interested in modeling interior design and things like that. So you might actually have a schematic of a room or a flat or a house even, and you would still get use out of this for just modeling contours and furniture and things even. Hard to say. Anyway, that's called Archeo, and you can read all about it at virtualrealityreporter.com. And if you think I'm spelling that out for you again, you're thinking wrong. Right. Moving on, back to videos. Coming up to date now, the latest edition of Between Realities, the VR podcast. I'll go through just to get the address. This is actually the season finale, so there won't be another edition for a few weeks at least. Not quite sure how many weeks, but season 3, episode 27, and season finale, and it's Between Realities VR. 27 consecutive weeks, blah, blah, blah. And they're concluding in glorious fashion as we wrap things up with an exciting episode featuring our amazing and supportive members. I thought there were more people on this. Yeah, so a bit of a party atmosphere for the final episode for the season anyway. And it's an hour, 40 minutes long, so a bit meaty. Between Realities is the YouTube account here. Between Space Realities. That's the user you want to look for if you want to see it. If you're not fussed about the details at YouTube, you can actually play it from my link there. It plays just as happily on the Mastodon page as anywhere else. It's got a long intro, that one, by the way. It took them a while to start. Just thought I'd tell you that. Be cheeky, of course. Right, moving on. Now, so we take our second visit of the week to Forbes.com, Forbes.com. And then, as opposed to Kathy's beginning of the week, we have Charlie's ending of the week. Charlie Fink, that is. More gossip and discussion on Facebook's ads. TechCrunch came out with the best headline of the week, actually, early in the week. Facebook's entry into VR advertising isn't going too well. That just sounded right to me. But, as James said earlier, you can't live without advertising. Something like that. But actually, I think the most audacious thing the God Emperor spouted this week was that he thinks that art and literature are going to be replaced by VR. Now, I should have clipped the quote, actually, to get it exactly right. But I would say that regardless of this product, VR will certainly be an important thing in literature and art. But it will not replace literature or art. It will augment them. I mean, literature is literature in its diverse forms, and art, even more, is art in its diverse forms. Oh, and television is the other one you mentioned. Zuki really seems to think that instead of having art in the future, we will have VR as an alternative to art. Presumably we won't be able to see any art because there'll be adverts all over the place covering it up. And the same with literature. We presumably will all go to an immersive place to read, although the only thing we'll be able to read are adverts. And as for television, well, we'll go to a viewing theatre where there won't be any programs on. There'll just be lots of adverts. Is that what he means? I don't know. I don't know. But literally, in his own words, he used the words "will replace"
Yeah.
art, literature, and television, not augment them, not become a platform for them, but replace them. And the biggest load of bullshit I can't imagine ever hearing. So go figure, go figure. Anyway, back to Charlie Fink, who has a roundup of the fast books advertising plans, feeling inevitable, not going too well. One developer who publicly tried them has already backed out.
Yep.
Yeah, and Blast and Review bombed after second. Oh, yeah, yeah, I don't know. Just not going too well. It's the point. He quotes Squad Ghost on quite like this. Ultra Leap investment capital, psychedelic VR meditation art called Trip. Oh, that's fun. I haven't got a link for that up here, but yeah, that's fun, and it's only $5 a month. Engage. Oh yeah, Engage have fallen into the trap. Engage as a platform hasn't been too bad in my opinion. It's one of the ones I can more tolerate. But unfortunately, they've now VRE.L right raised 10 million US dollars, and they have announced Engage Oasis. Guess what? A metaverse.
Is it a metaverse?
For business. Yeah. Well, it's it doesn't say a metaverse or the metaverse. It just says metaverse for business. Now we all know that there can't be a metaverse because there's only the singular. And if you say the metaverse is for business, then you're saying that it can't be used for non-business. If you see what I mean, it's they're off down a very definite rabbit hole of their own, actually. And this is where I came to the quote I mentioned earlier, I think. The popular cross-platform XR application for online learning and training is going to use the cash to pivot into connected public and private social worlds. CEO David Whelan says he wants the company to be the LinkedIn of VR. I'm really getting so fed up. I never want to hear the word metaverse again in my life.
Okay. I don't believe that.
I feel like that sometimes because every time I hear it, I no longer what it is. Because so many people are using this word willy-nilly to describe things that half the time they've pluralized the word metaverse, which
right,
is
metaverses.
that's not possible to do
Right.
because it's a singular. But they just don't seem to know what it is. The closest they get to the reality, which is the reality, is that it is something that connects everything together and integrates everything in your life together. That in some ways is an accurate description. But when they start, sort of going into the things of VR and AR and different platforms, and suddenly sticking to one platform and one user interface and one kind of set of metaphors and calling that the metaverse, let alone a metaverse. We're in very funny territory here. I was thinking the other week that I'm eternally glad that I used Metaworld News and Metaworld Broadcasting for my endeavours. Back when everybody, it was actually my own colleague on this show, Maria Koloff, who's accursed every time a new grid came online that called itself Meta something or Meta.
That's right.
And I'm really glad this is not Metaverse News or Metaverse Broadcasting, although that company did exist. It wasn't mine. I was a collaborator, but they've long gone. But it's times like this I'm glad I see the metaverse is up top, and underneath you've got meta galaxies, and I'm a humble meta world, and underneath me is all the metadata. That, as I understand it, is the schematic of the
future
of the working group, the VR working. Will Burns is on it, and various people. That was always the fake schematic, and it is only a schematic to make sense to science fiction people. You've got a universe, you've got a galaxy, you've got worlds, you've got data, and that was the way it was structured. But there's not multiple. There's no more multiple metaverses. There are multiple universes. Although, arguably in science fiction, you could have parallel universes like parallel worlds, which aren't elevations of things. They're shifted versions of things. But I'm not going to go into that because when I write my epic science fiction novel next century,
Oh,
I'll cover it then. But it's too complicated now. Or maybe I'll leave that to Maria. She's hosting Metastellar, which is a science fiction website these days, and it seems to be her main focus. Reviews, writing, everything. Oh, and she's finally done the first of her TV interviews. The less said about which, the better, really. It's a real world one rather than a Zoom call rather than an avatar program. Right, anyway, so I was yeah, Charlie Fink, of course. So this week in XR, he's got it all covered there, really. And a promotion for the webcast video version, which is coming up in a second too. So you'll find that the general roundup of the week at Forbes.com, FORBES.com. And moving on, VRScout.com. Once again, this has an article on the Tribeca Film Festival, now past, of course. Tribeca Film Festival was a win for the XR industry this year, and again, they're just looking back at things that were there. Not only was most of it held virtually, but there was an awful lot of virtual content in it, if you see what I mean. And hence the expression, it was a win for XR. Another profusely illustrated roundup. So if you don't want to read anything but like pretty pictures, you can go here as well. Okay, that's VRScout.com. And moving down, this is interesting. Yet another virtual world of sorts has raised a fuck up a lot of money to do stuff with. And it's the good old VR Chat, who actually have been around quite a while when you think about it. They've raised $80 million US dollars to prepare for social VR growth. And I must say, you know, I'm a bit cynical about VR Chat and Rec Room, and these are, you know, I jokingly call them the legless worlds, you know.
well, VR chat has legs.
Yes, I know.
Okay, all right.
They were often hard to find in the older days. But yeah, they actually have a lot of users, 40,000 concurrent users, apparently being the top free VR application on both Steam and Oculus Rift. And VR is not actually required to use the flexible version for world creation and socialization. Now, I would like to give them a whole load of credit, right, for this, what is basically a press release. Nowhere in the entire press release do they mention this mysterious, undefinable thing that's now come around called the metaverse. The word does not occur anywhere.
Nope.
In that brief statement. So they have raised $80 million US dollars to prepare for social VR. Yeah. They obviously have no intention of getting into the unmentionable act of sabotaging the concept.
They know better.
They know better. Yes,
Right.
they do. So I will congratulate them for that. And that little press release, as it were, is found at uploadvr.com. So UPLOADVR.com. They are actually the same site that produces the download VR download twice weekly videos that we are so fond of here. Right, moving on from that, and the last, I think, of my videos at Mastodon. Right, yes, right, this is Series 1, Episode 15 of a program called Singularity Watch. I think I featured one of these programs a few weeks ago. I'm going to click through to YouTube just so I can make sure you get the right places.
Filtering in terms of, is it usable today? Is it dangerous today?
Right. Okay. Forget where this is filmed, actually. Enthusiasts about web XR, hottest trends in the immersive environment, etc., etc. Fabian here is Fabian Bennett, who he's called. He's also a consultant for the European Parliament's Innovation Lab, where he has the mission of I love this. In his own words, he has the mission of measuring bullshit
Mhm.
Oh, sorry, no, that's it. That's his mission statement
All right.
for what he does at the EU. That's nice. Yeah, no, he's the minister of bullshit measurement.
Well,
Love it, love
that's
it.
reassuring.
No,
Right.
no wonder Boris left the union, right? He's got his own brand of bullshit. He doesn't want his Europeans measuring it, right? Okay. So yeah, the site you want here is Singularity Watch. Singularity is one word, space watch. That's the YouTube account name. And yeah, I think there've been 15 episodes in this first series, and I'm sure we looked at a couple of others at some point where they, obviously Singularity Watch is um, a very wide berth, but does occasionally touch on XR, and in particular case here, Web XR, which is basically virtual spaces on the web. Right, so move on from that one. Right, now another unusual site for us to be at, but nevertheless we are. This is elle.com, ELLE.com. This is where I check in here now and again to make sure I've got the latest brand of lipstick.
The best clothes. Yep.
Yeah, well, lipstick, eyeshadow, and all that other stuff that we elderly persons need to.
This is where I get my Sansar outfits as I go to L. No, I don't.
It's probably an alien sound.
Right.
I bet you
There
there's one
should
in Second
be.
Life.
There should be.
Yeah,
There's a lot of great clothing in Sansar.
yeah, and it's the sort of thing that the fashionistas in Second Life have probably come up with now and again. Though
You would think.
Second Life is a bit dodgier these days because companies do actually find out about people using their brands and stuff. A lot easier than they used to. Anyway, the question is: are virtual worlds the future of social media? a lot of the fashion blogs and stuff have been covering this recently about how much money has been made out of virtual clothes. Needless to say, I mean, if I read out these articles say 5 years ago, I think they'd all been sent a press release about fashionistas and designers in Second Life. But of course, these days, the more than likely the topic of the conversation is actually NFTs and sales on the blockchain of high-price fashions. But as Philip Rosedale pointed out, why spend £2 million on a cute gown when you can't even wear it and show it off to friends? That is a non-fungible. What's the T for waste of time?
Token. It's a token.
Oh yeah, I know. No, token or trinkets, I call them. Like
You call them trinkets. Yep.
Non-fungible trinkets is my interpretation. But because they are, to me, worthless if you don't have the physical thing. It's an electronic trinket, e-trinklets. But yeah, a colossal waste of time. But people are throwing huge amounts of money around in virtual currencies to get these non-fungible trinkets, and if it's a wonderful ball gown, maybe it's a one-off, a designer item that you can see in an avatar photo on the screen, and it's sold as a one-off non-fungible trinket, but you can't wear it, you can't show it off to anybody. It defeats. People don't buy $2 million gowns to not wear them. It's just what is going on. I don't know. I really don't. I despair sometimes. All I know is that whoever's buying these things have got more money in the sense, that's for sure. Right. We're used to creating versions of ourselves online, but interacting as an avatar on gaming platforms can offer women a power, freedom, and safety lacking in reality. Welcome to Utopia. Well, I think they're being a bit optimistic on that one, actually. It would be nice to call the virtual world a utopia, wouldn't it? Okay. She's gone to the writer here, says, I'm oddly nervous about this birthday get-together. It's been months since I've been into one, and I've forgotten what people wear. Am I okay to turn up in a t-shirt, or will everybody dressed up? Do I need to do something with my hair? What cute gift can I bring that she doesn't already have? But this isn't what you might think of as a normal party, because the location isn't a bar or even a friend's living room. It's in a self-contained virtual world called Animal Crossing New Horizons, the video game that has helped more than 30 million people relax and socialize in these strange contact-starved times. She goes on about the holiday and the venue, etc. But I love the way she introduces that. Like, I've got to go out. I'm going to be meeting people for the first time in a year. What am I going to wear? Should I get my hair done? So it's all in a virtual space. uh, I have visions of her spending as much time trying to do up her avatar as she would do up herself in real life. Anyway, yeah, quite interesting take on all this. So our virtual world's the future of social media, maybe. And this thoughts are at l.com, ELLE.com. And right, another unusual site. Well, not unusual, but it doesn't cover VR that often. This is a site called musicradar.com, musicradar.com. And they're looking at the rise in sort of virtual concerts and shows and stuff. You want a show from your sofa, exploring the world of VR performance, and written by Computer Music. That's a good byline, isn't it? It may be a companion mag or something. Sit side by side, sing your heart out, facing thousands of rapturous faces all around you, all of whom are sharing this dreamlike, transcendent moment. The show ends, and within seconds, you're back on your sofa. Sound like a preposterous dream? Well, actually, it isn't. They go on to explain what they're talking about, but of course, we all know what they're talking about in the first place. But I imagine people reading Music Radar, and there must be a few people there who haven't quite clicked yet as to the breadth of virtual. I mean, most people into music know virtual performance already because their favourite artists do an acoustic set on Ustream.
Ustream?
No,
Wow.
Fateball, whatever that one's called.
Okay, all right.
And and YouTube, of course, and whatever, and Zooms even. And they really exploded over the last year. But of course, the ones that have happened that we know about in Roblox and Sansar, and stuff, are very much a smaller part of that we know about, but haven't necessarily had massive tractions. But anyway, it's a bit of a roundup there for people who don't really know about virtual music. Right, two more to go. Organics.org, we go here now and again, AUGANIX.org. And they're talking about a company called Manus, who've launched Prime X series gloves for mocap and haptic VR usage. June 23rd, this was earlier in the week, I guess. They've got the tags in their line, really, haven't they? The photograph shows it all, really. I imagine they're not quite as cumbersome as an actual headset, although that chap's got both. But they're somewhat bulky. As often with these things, you can see the bulk in the photograph, but you have no real idea what the weight is. I mean, if those were like lifting up weights in a gym, they could be made out of the heaviest metal you've ever come across. On the other hand, they could be lightweight aluminium type things, so you don't really get to know from a quick photo there. But basically the idea is they will capture motion, so they'd be part of a kit, although they would have a use on their own. I mean, motion capture for animations and stuff that people strap on in virtual worlds is done with full body suits with nodes at particular points where the joints are, and they're all translated into joints on the avatar's body, and then that can create an animation to move the avatar. And if it's live, of course, the motion capture suit actually triggers the movement points on whatever it's transmitting, person is transmitting to, or avatar is transmitting to, is what I mean. But obviously, in the same way we talk about strapping on a headset for maybe 5 minutes to get a closer look at the molecules on your screen, and then taking it off before it gets too cumbersome, it may be the case that you'd have these kind of haptic inputs like these gloves that are extraordinarily sensitive, and you would put them on for a particular task. I must admit, since well, it was first generation iPod Pro, I think I got with the Apple Pencil. Well, you get the pencil separately, of course, but I couldn't resist. And it's one of those strange things. I actually, if I was in a program or a place on the iPad that could make use of it, I absolutely loved it. Very sensitive and very easy to use. The new ones even better, fantastic. But I would only pick it up and use it when it was relevant. You know, I must admit, over a period of time, I now tend to browse, columns of a web page or a passport page by using the pencil, simply because it's as easy as using my finger. Having a start. But I used to use a proper stylus with like a rubber tip rather than the pencil, which is hard. But now they're interchangeable. But I only pick it up when I need it. It's like a tool for artists. If I want to write comments on the blog or something like that, I'll go on the keyboard or even use my voice to do translates. I'm not going to be using the pencil. And so, when I see haptic things like this, I keep thinking when a creative world, or maybe even a particular branch of science, that maybe, that wearing that may afford me massive flexibility over and beyond what my hand can do. And I will want to put it on. But at the same time, it's not something I imagine I would be wearing all the while, because I'm online or on a computer screen or whatever. So, but sounds like an interesting sort of thing. And it has high fidelity finger tracking, but that is nothing to do with high fidelity. That's nothing to do with it, by the way. That's something else entirely. Okay, so you'll find that at organics.org. That's auganix.org. And we get to our final post of the show. This would have come in yesterday, I guess. Well, actually, I think this is a link somebody sent me on one of the other blogs. Okay, this Imperial College is a science-based college here in London, and their address is Imperial AC UK. So IMPERIAL.ac.uk, and this will be at the moment. This will be the most recent thing in my Twitter feed, so you can probably click through to the page you need from there. They're talking about the innovative use of VR and AR, XR in other words, in their own teaching, and as profiled in a trade journal called Education Week, actually. And they're just, it's quite a good thorough article, the people there, what they're doing, and all the different places from medical. Yeah, they do a lot of medical teaching there, of course, but it's a sort of science-based university, so actually it's only down the road here, but I mean, I haven't been there for a long while. I think the last time I was there was about 5 years ago, and it was for a trainer who was in Second Life, basically, and they were working with a hospital elsewhere in London, and he turned up at the college to give this talk and asked me to come along and join him. Yeah, when I was young, their student union used to be one of the best places for concerts. I remember them well. Never went to the college, for not my thing, but I remember the Imperial College's student union held a lot of those great gigs in the late 60s and things with bands you would now pay a fortune to see. Right, so that's it. That is my last thing. I'm going to remove that item, and I'm even going to go as far as closing the Dreaded Safari to give us a pretty little picture instead. And James, your thoughts? That's I think that's been a bit longer this week than I intended.
Yeah, we're at 2 hours and 18 minutes.
Oh my goodness gracious me! So
Yeah,
I didn't notice when I was loading the links, but it was obviously a heavy link day and a heavy rabbit day as well.
Yeah.
Rabbit wouldn't be me.
Yeah. So I do detect your skepticism about non-fungible tokens, but I think I've said it on the program before that our species has the great desire to collect things. We love accumulating things. And unfortunately, we like to accumulate things at the expense of our home, our planet. And so my hope is that non-fungible tokens will allow us to continue collecting things that don't have an impact on the planet. So if I can have my wonderful, hot sports car in a virtual world with the tokens, then I don't need
Oh,
to actually mine metals to to
yeah,
have the
no,
same thing.
yeah, I can see that. I mean, virtual currencies, I can kind of see.
Hmm.
I mean, we've had them in Second Life since the beginning of Second Life. I mean, you know, you have a virtual currency and you use that to buy things
Yeah, yeah, those are
and
still
sell things.
backed by banks and financial institutions.
Well, a lot of the Ethereum things and stuff like that are now, and
Yeah,
as time goes by, more banks are kind of adopting them as. But I think electronic money and electronic currency is a different matter. I mean, the British government is working on a British currency that will be electronic to replace the money we carry around in our pockets. You know, I imagine other countries are doing so too. Um, Given it's Boris's loss, it'll probably be a couple of decades before it gets anywhere. But I know they are working on it because
right.
that's the way things are
Yeah,
going.
but the point's not
Uh,
about currency, Mal. The point is about the actual objects that we buy. And
yeah,
so, I mean, if you're still buying a hot rod sports car with electronic money, you're not solving the problem.
no, oh no, no, for sure. But when you started talking about the car and you were talking about the weight of coins and stuff like that,
No, no, no. I'm
electronic.
talking about the metal that goes into the body panels and the fuel
Of the
that
car,
goes
yeah.
into the right, right,
Well, we shouldn't be buying expensive cars anyway, and
right.
we shouldn't be buying anything that burns petroleum.
Yep.
That goes without saying. It's not going to stop people doing it, but you know. And I'm terrible when it comes to collecting things. You know, I've collected. You know, through my life, I collected alternative press in the 60s, and I collected comics when I was young and
Yeah.
older.
Yeah.
I collect films on DVDs and Blu-rays and videotapes, and the same with musical concerts. I collected CDs when they were the thing, even CD-ROMs stacked high around me,
Yep.
and magazines with art and how to do stuff on computers from way back. And uh, you know, you know, magazine goes like on the bookshelf next to the previous issue, and it's sort of, oh, I'll refer to that again someday. And you know, a lot of this, of course, is before it was online. But I know what you say about the collecting, and you know, I paid out some ridiculous amounts at the time. For an online storage, not my book at Western Digital, I hasten to add. But yeah, I think I paid them £300 for a lifetime license, which gives me 2 terabytes active online, and it's constantly it's you know, it's not like a Dropbox or something. It's more advanced. It's online, and I can share things through it. It's got lots of facilities that I can do, like it was my own computer online, and I it was actually quite cheap per month or per year, but I just thought, oh, I'll have the lifetime license on this because I can use it. You know, and of course, the reason I want it is to collect stuff. Because it's not a physical disc like the Western Digital things that can suddenly get reset overnight, or well, we won't go back into that. But yeah, I call it non-fungible trinkets because I if it isn't something I can physically hold in my hand or use virtually, right? Then I don't see it's worth. Now I pay money for. So you talk about your wonderful sports car. I mean, I pay money for my horses in Second Life because I like riding on the horses in places where there's no one around and there's a big space to do it. You know, just sit on the horse and trot around. And if somebody wants to join me, I can give them a companion horse, and or they can ride on the back of mine. It's good stuff. Um, so that was like an electronic form of purchasing a horse, but it's not real. I haven't bought a horse in a stable anywhere. It's all virtual. But to me, that has its value, like your a virtual motor car would have, because you can drive it around and it's. But that's not what I call a non-fungible trinket. That is actually a real virtual object that you can make use of. But if you buy a dress or an artwork as a non-fungible trinket, that is something that has no physical existence, and also has no virtual existence that allows you to show it off or enjoy it, if you see what I mean. And that seems to be some of the points that were being made in the week about how these non-fungible trinkets or tokens, if you must, are differ from virtual goods. There's the virtual finance side of it, but there's also the virtual object side of it. But when the non-fungible trinkets are quite literally imaginary trinkets that just don't exist in physical form or virtual form, what is the use of them? I mean,
well,
if you want to spend £1 million on a gown,
right,
and you can buy it in Second Life and put it on your avatar, maybe it is worth £1 million. But to buy a gown as a non-fungible token, where you can't show it, you can't wear it, you can't show it off to anybody, it exists by virtue of being verified, but it doesn't exist by virtue of being able to do anything or access it. I presume, as it's verified, you could possibly sell it on to somebody else at a profit. Which of course is common in the art market. I don't know about the gown market. I don't know. It just seems to me folly. But then again, people who are loaded with money are creatures of folly anyway. I mean, they will, they will buy a designer robe for £1 million, whereas they can get an almost identical robe for £10 on the high street. Partly vanity, partly showing. I mean, I suppose the one thing people do get when they cough up a load of money like that for something that is verified to exist but actually doesn't have any form anywhere, is at least you can show off and say, I own this, oh, aren't I rich? I've just spent £2 million on something.
Yeah.
Can't say you what.
It's very, very cynical again, Mal, but that's all right. That's your privilege.
It is.
Seeing the future is a difficult thing. So.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. You just put rules. I mean, it was obvious to me that music was going to be super online, even at the beginning with just MP3s, which weren't actually that good quality. That was a turning point, but it was tangible. You no longer had a CD or a record or a tape in your hand, but you still had and owned that music, and you just played it to an electronic medium. Of course, all that's changed now with people like Apple around. You no longer even own the music you buy. You sort of have a license to listen, if that makes sense. You can't download a copy to your own computer. You can't sell it on to somebody else like a second-hand record. It's become a different kind of industry. But it was obvious that it was going to happen, I think. Because you can say an MP3 doesn't exist. It's just a noughts and ones, but it still functions. Things like
so
that.
So does an NFT.
How?
Well, this is probably going on too long in our program.
Oh, we're on air, aren't we? As well,
we are indeed. Yeah.
Getting into a joint rabbit hole. Yeah.
I'll have to stop offering my thoughts, I think.
Non-fungible trinkets. They're just they're almost asking for the name.
Yeah.
And actually, even if I accepted the word token, which I just can't take seriously, even tokenism itself is nebulous. It's implying that it's a token rather than something real, or they might be exchangeable for something real. So. Anyway, yes, let's just not dwell on it. Let us say goodbye before they're probably all left now anyway.
Yeah.
But nevertheless, we will say goodbye for another week. It is goodbye from the fungible man himself, the loud token.
Ah, very
It's goodbye
nice.
from him. It's goodbye from him.
And it's goodbye
Well,
from the very fungible him alongside the desk.
I wish we could go out playing "I'm on Fire."
Mm,
Bruce Springsteen, wasn't it? I'm on fire.
right, right.
Yeah. In defense of non-fungible what's-its, he's on fire this
Yep.
week. Yes, yes.
Yep.
Right. And I'm not. I'm just me. Yeah. Yeah, says goodbye from me too. Goodbye from both of us. We two is one, because when it comes to this program, and whether it's AR, whether it's XR, whether it's MR, whether it's something else R, at the end of the day, you can be assured that
We are. There it is.
looking for my lion sound effect for the R there, but never mind. Right, I'll put it away. Okay, we were about same time, same place next week. I hope you've enjoyed the show. Hopefully we've been a bit useful, even though we have been diverging. Banter. And yes, about same time, same place next week. Have a very good week, everybody. Stay at home if you can, and stay safe, and enjoy what there is to life to be enjoyed without endangering yourself, so to speak. And with that, is bye for now.